Okay, hi. So today I'm going to show you how to make a makeup bag. The two different kinds we're going to do I call is like a flat bottom, and then the other I call a boxy bottom, but I'm sure there's a term for it. It's got this nice bottom to it. So I have pre-cut all of my fabric, and I have also cut the peel-on fusible interfacing. I like to use the 987F. And there's two sides to it. So this is the side, it's the textured side. That will go on the wrong side of your fabric. So I'm making two bags at the same time so I can show you the two steps. One of the bags that we're going to make flat, well, I'm going to make flat, is about 9 3/4 by 12 1/2. And so I have pre-cut the fusible to this size, and I will show you like that. I haven't ironed it. Make sure if you cut it, that you cut it to the exact size, or you don't let the iron touch the little white pieces here, because that will gunk up your iron. So I'm just going to quickly iron this one on, and then I'll do the other one. I just do a little steam to it, and then just make sure that I don't let the edges touch the fusible fleece. So if you don't have an iron, whenever I'm teaching classes, I always check the local thrift stores. This one I bought for $4 when I taught one of my classes. So I just press it and make sure that it's attached. So you can see that it's attached, all of it. My liners, I always make my liners a little bit bigger because I don't use pins, and I'm going to show you how to sew it on without pins. So let me show you the size difference when I cut mine. So that's like 1/4 inch all around, and then this just gets cut off. For zippers, I'm going to use a longer zipper, so I'm going to use a zipper that will hang off of both sides. It's always nicer to use a longer zipper than a shorter one. The other bag that we're going to make, which is going to have these little corners on it, this one is 13 1/2 by 9 1/2. I don't always use measurements, so I just kind of eyeball and make mine. I just make up a number, or I will actually just cut out a bag, and if I like that sizing, I'll just use it. So this bag goes by really fast. I do use a zipper foot when I'm sewing on my zippers, so I will show you that. This is kind of the bag that I teach in my book classes. So, and then I also made a little tutorial on my blog site, so I will include that as well. And I will show you this one just for sizing, that how wide I make it. So now that we've got those lined up, and here's my zipper. So my zipper again, longer. So now that we've got all the pieces set up, we're going to sew. I'm going to bring you over here to my sewing station. And, all right. So we'll do the square, not the square bottom, the boxy bottom. So I switch out my feet, and I've got my zipper foot. So I'm going to put my zipper foot on. Okay, so your zipper and the outside of your bag. All right, so you're going to lay the outside of your bag down. You're going to lay your zipper, your foot, and your zipper is going to go here. You can't see in this, but I go right in the middle, so I don't go on the edge, and I don't sew here by the zipper. I just kind of divide the difference. You don't have to backstitch here. And like I said, I do longer zippers so that I can hang it off. If you have a shorter one, you can add a little tab on each side. But you just kind of get your needle in and then you sew. Okay. So I got one side on. You can see the back. I have red thread so you can see. So now what you're going to do, I'll show you. So you're going to put right sides together. You see? Let's see if you can see better. Okay. Right sides together. You're going to put them this way. And then this is why I leave it longer, so I don't put pins in. You are going to sew down that red line right here. Well, mine is red, but I sew down that same line. So I'm going to do that. And because I'm making 2 bags, I'm going to do the same thing to the other one, because after we finish this step, then we are top stitching here, and I will show you an example. There's like a top stitch there, so that is our next step. But while I'm doing this step, I'm going to do it to this others, because I like to switch my feet back to the other regular foot when I'm top stitching. Just like we did to the other one. I'm going to do right sides together. And I'm going to sew down that line. And this is why I leave it big around, because I don't use pins. Not that I'm not a fan of them, I just have found it easier that I like to do it this way. Then I'm going to switch my feet, and then I'm going to top stitch, and I just make them nice, just pull them tight, these two, and then I'm just going to stitch right along here to make it a nice, clean, finished look on both of them. And then you can see that. I'm going to do that to the other. There are bag patterns out there that you can find, like on Pinterest or on blogs, that you can download if you like to use patterns. I just generally just kind of come up with a number, or I just cut it. So now what you're going to do, I'll show it this way, is you're going to take this end, the opposite end, and it's going to come up here, and you're going to sew on the other side. So don't sew down here on the bottom where the red is. you're going to sew here. And let me flip it this way so you can see what I'm talking about. So it's the other side of the zipper. I do have photos on my website, my blog, that shows you the photos. So I will show you a closer look. And then you just want to make sure everything's nice and neat, and then you'll sew in the same spot as you did on the other one. Not on the edge, not on the zipper, but right in the middle. Okay, so we folded it there. So this is our first stitching here. This is our second, and I'll show you the back side. So then what we're going to do is you take the other side and you flip it this way. So you've got two loops here. So don't get confused and fold it over this way and make a sandwich. You don't want that. So you want to make sure you've just sewn this one. You want to make sure that you swing this up this way, and you're going to sew down that same line. And I make mine bigger, so I'm just going to fold mine over, and that's how much excess I have on this side. And I will just trim it off when I'm done. There, see, I've got excess. Because I like to, like I said, I don't pin, so I'm just going to sew this, and then I'll trim that excess off. And I sew down that same line here, just like we did on the other side. And I will trim this excess off. Okay, so there's that. So we've got two. Then you will zip it open all the way, and then we're going to top stitch on the other side. But I like to switch feet, so I'm going to do this to the other bag. And we'll top stitch on that opposite side. Okay. Oh, I forget. I'm going to put my tag on this one. If you have a tag, you put it on now before you do that. And I just kind of divide the difference. And then I will show you how to make some tabs too, if you want to put tabs in. I usually use the excess bias tape, but you can use the fabric if you have any. So, like I said, you're going to take it and flip it this way, and you are going to stitch on this side all the way down. So. Go out. Get out. I'm talking to my dog, not my child. So we've done that. Now, like I said, flip this guy up this way. And like I had excess. So now I'm going to sew down that line. And you can see the extra I have there. You need to get out if you're going to whine. Now, I'm going to trim that excess off. I don't trim any of the strings yet, so we've got it here. We're going to zip it open all the way, flip it out, lay down, lay down. And then we're going to top stitch, lay down. We're going to top stitch on this side. So I'm going to switch feet again, and now I don't need my zipper foot anymore. So, okay, perfect. So you just kind of feed it into your machine and press it out, and then you're going to top stitch on the other side. Okay, so now we've got top stitch on both sides. Yay! Then we're going to sew it shut. But I'm going to sew this one flat. So, not flat, top stitch it, sorry. Okay, now that we've got those, we've got them top stitched. So you can make tabs out of, I use double bias tape, my excess that I didn't use, and I will just kind of make my own little tab out of it. So I will take the double bias, I can't see with the sun, but, and then I'll take a piping, a piece of it, and what I'll do is I will make a little tab out of it. So and I just sew as close to the edge. So I kept the red so you can see. Wow, you can't really see, can you? Well, there's red and black. So what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll make this into a tab. And I'm only going to do a tab on one of them so I could show you. So I just eyeball. I don't really have a number, but here's a tab. So what we're going to do then from here is you take your bag, you'll open it up all the way like this. Make sure your zipper is on the inside, okay? You don't want to sew it down with your zipper on the outside. This one will be the boxy bottom because this one I'm going to make, right? No, let me double check. One of them I made a little bit bigger. Yeah, this one will be the boxy bottom, and then this one will be the flat bottom. So I'll do the flat bottom first. So the flat one, if you're not going to put the corners on it and you just want it to be flat across, do the same thing. Make sure the zipper's on the inside. And I usually just put the zipper in just a little bit there, 1.5 inches or so. And then you pinch here, and you're just going to sew down. And back stitch here, because you don't want your stitches to fall out. When you're going over the zipper, be very careful because you don't want to break your needle and have it shatter into your eye. So I just sew very slowly, but just be very careful. So we've got that, right? We've got one side done. This side, the opposite side, This is where I'll put one pin in, and that's just to match the two ends. And I make sure that it's going down. I don't know how to explain that, but I just make sure that the ends are met. And then for your tab is gonna go on the inside of your bag here, so that, if you can see, there's your tab will kind of go close to there. You leave an opening. I leave my opening generally here in the middle, not on the end, not by the zipper, but like kind of in the middle. And you want to make it big enough so that you have enough time, or you've got enough room to turn it around. So same like the other one, you're going to start and back stitch. And I just will hold that tab in there where I want it. I don't necessarily pin it. And very careful when you're sewing over pins. If you're not an experienced sewer and you haven't sewn over them a bunch, don't sew over them because they can shatter into your eye. And I have had them shatter on me. Luckily, I've had my glasses on. But I have heard of sewers who've gotten pieces in their eye. So I stopped here, and I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to leave my opening. Okay, I'm going to turn this one around so I can show you what this flat bottom looks like. So I take my pin out. I'm going to trim off all the excess. So just trim off the excess. I don't cut the corners and diagonals with my makeup bags. You can if you wanted to. I don't necessarily, but I will show you what I do with my opening so that it's easier to sew. So I will leave it like this so that it's easier to sew it in together. So turn this bad boy around. Just kidding. Hold on. So I made sure that my zipper was on the other side. I didn't move it from when I showed you, so that it's easier to turn around. If you leave your zipper close to the end, you're going to have a really hard time opening it. You might have to rip your stitches out just so that you can turn it around and zip it and open it. But I will just stick my finger through that hole, and I will push up my corners. And I will also push up these zipper tops. So and then you'll sew that hole shut. I will just use my sewing machine to sew it shut, but I've got red on my bobbin, so I'm not going to change it. But that's how you make a flat bottom bag with a tab. So, and then this finished product is 10.5 by 9.5. So that's how you can make one of those. To make the boxy bottoms, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to turn this guy inside out. Make sure your zipper's in a little. And I'm not putting a tab in this one. When you start, make sure you back stitch. When I get to the zippers, like again, I just pinch and make sure they're together. And just sew very carefully. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other. I make sure that it is pinned together, my two ends. And then I'm going to sew down, I'm going to leave an opening, and then we're going to do the 4 corners. magic number on how wide I leave my opening. I just kind of eyeball it. Like I said, you don't want to make it too small because you'll be fighting to get it through there. So I'm just going to trim up these edges first, and then we're going to do the 4 corners. And if you do make one, I want to see it. Send me a photo or tag me on Facebook or Instagram. So here's the trick. You're going to take the 2 sides on the outside, and I make a nice corner like that. So for my measurement, I usually do a thumb. So I will measure from right about here, and that's my measurement to go in. You can take a ruler if you want, but I just kind of go in like, I don't know if you can see that, but I will go in about into my thumb like that, and I'm going to sew across the measurement going in this way. So it's going to be like this. So I will do one side and I will show you. And so you do this to all 4 corners. So if you're going to use a measuring tape, go for it. Like I said, I just use my thumb. And you want to back stitch. So there's that measurement. You want to take this side and then you come over to this side and you flatten it out. You could just go, let me come in the photo, like this, and then mark it. But like I said, I just kind of eyeball and go. So you can see the 2 there. Okay, then you're going to do that the same measurements on the inside. Flatten it out like that, and the same thumb measurement. Okay, and then the other one. Then, after you do that, you're going to trim them all up. And then you're going to turn it around. So I just kind of trim close to the edge there. So I've got, I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. So all 4 of them. And then you turn it inside out. After you turn it inside out, I just keep my fingers in there and poke out the corners. And then you sew the hole shut. And you've got 2 bags. Well, if you made 2 bags, if you only made 1, this is just kind of giving you an idea how to do my little tricks. So come over here and I'll show you the finished product since lighting's better here. So, okay. So you've got 1. There's 1. And then there's your other one. So 2 bags that you can make in 30 minutes. Okay, good luck. Let me know how you do. Quyana.